You know what I get asked all the time? Joe, what are your top 10 movies of all time? I'm serious. I get asked that all the time. Well, I don't have a top 10 list. I have a top 11 list. Hey, Joe here. Thanks for visiting Road Trip Joe, and thank you for watching. Okay, I'm going to get slammed for this, right? Joe has a top 11 list of his all-time favorite movies. That's right. And I'm going to get slammed, probably rightfully so. All right? But here we go. Here's Joe's top 11. You asked for it, and you're going to get it. Joe's top 11 movies of all time. All right, let's start with number 11, shall we? Let's see. This one might surprise you because it's a fairly new movie. It's called Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. That's right. Came out a couple of years ago. And I know what you're thinking. This was a fun movie. I mean, it was fun. Had some great acting in it. Had a great story. I liked the original Jumanji, so I mean, it was really nice that they picked it up. And now there's a sequel that's coming out later this year. Here, I know what you're asking. If this was your number 11, what's your number 10? It's Gladiator with Russell Crowe. It's got a great script, great acting, and lots of awards, so no apologies from me. Okay, number 9.1 and 9.2. Yes, there are two number 9 picks. See, I told you my list was kind of screwy. So, 9.1 is this. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. That's right, this is a no-brainer for me. This was the second movie of the original trilogy. It has to be in the top 11 somewhere, so 9.1 is good. And what's 9.2? Well, that's The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. Okay, who else would have this film in their top 11 movies of all time, right? Well, Road Trip Joe does, that's who. The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming is a very, very special film. Why is that? Well, when it came out in 1966, I was just a kid then, I was practicing crawling under my desk at school to prepare for the imminent nuclear attack we were all expecting. The old duck and cover was probably a worthless drill for all of my schools because I was on an army base. That's where I grew up as an army brat. We were the first target, right? So the movie came out at a good time and lightened things up a little bit. I'm not quite sure, but I remember this movie being one of the first ones I'd ever gone to in a movie theater with just my friends, no parents. And this movie had some big stars in it. Actually, I don't ever remember going to a movie with my parents. They just never went. All right, let's see. Who are the big stars? Well, there's Brian Keith, Carl Reiner, Eva Marie Saint, Jonathan Winters, Paul Ford, and of course, Alan Arkin. I was fortunate enough to actually meet Alan Arkin a few years ago at a movie festival. Told him this was one of my favorite movies. He just kind of stared at me. All right, let's move on to number 8. Number 8 would be Saving Private Ryan. I just love this movie, even though it's really hard for me to watch. I cry every time. Well, actually, I cry at every movie, actually. But Saving Private Ryan is very special to me. Wow, we are down to number 7 already. Number 7 is It's a Wonderful Life. I'd like to think that It's a Wonderful Life is in everybody's top 10, or top 11 in my case. I make sure to watch this movie every year around Christmas, so I feel better about myself. And yes, there's lots of crying in this movie, even after all these years. All right, for number 6, I'm going with Amadeus. Now, a lot of how I pick my movie is based on how many times I've watched it. I mean, if I like a movie, I'm going to watch it a lot. Some people just watch a movie once and they move on. I don't do that. With all of my top 11 picks, I have watched these movies multiple times. Why do I do that? Probably because I'm OCD. I never get tired of watching Amadeus. All right, let's move on to number 5, shall we? Number 5, A Christmas Story. Surprised? Just like It's a Wonderful Life, I never miss this movie about Ralphie who almost shoots his eye out. I just love this movie. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is the second movie in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's The Two Towers. I loved all of the movies in the Lord of the Rings. This one was my favorite, The Two Towers. Okay, number 3. This one might be on a lot of people's list. Number 3 is The Shawshank Redemption with Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, but unfortunately it was up against Forrest Gump in 1994, which kind of ran away with everything. But if given a choice of watching Shawshank Redemption or Forrest Gump, if they were both on at the same time, I'd go with The Shawshank Redemption. It's that good. It's a great story, great story. Okay, my last 2, and these are awesome picks if you ask me. Number 2 is, drum roll please, The Princess Bride. Joe's number 2 pick of his favorite all-time movies is The Princess Bride? Inconceivable, right? Well, there's nothing better than being only mostly dead, right? And before you slam me for what a goofy pick this is, consider this. The guy who wrote the screenplay for this, William Goldman, also wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men. Not a bad repertoire. This is a really witty movie, so people just get over it. And now it's a cult classic. Okay, you want me to move along to my number 1 pick? I get it. As you wish. Road Trip Joe's number 1 movie of all time is one he was introduced to as a kid and watched every year it came out on TV around the holidays. Another drum roll, please. Yes, it's The Wizard of Oz. I watched this movie every year growing up and knew every line by heart. I probably still do. It's hands down my favorite movie of all time. It came out in 1939, long before I was born, the same time another famous movie came out called Gone with the Wind. So it took a few years to gain traction, but The Wizard of Oz has stood the test of time. Okay, there you have it, Joe's top 11 movies. I'm sure you're impressed, but there were plenty of others I had a hard time moving down the list outside of the top 11. What are they? Well, here's some of Joe's honorable mentions. The Graduate, Galaxy Quest, Forrest Gump, Raiders of the Lost Ark, American Graffiti, Patton, The Sting, Jaws, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Jurassic Park, The African Queen, The Quiet Man, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, Caddyshack, of course, The Matrix, Avatar, Alien, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Ghostbusters, The Goonies, and of course I gotta have at least one Star Trek movie in there. My favorite Star Trek movie of all time, The Wrath of Khan. Okay, there you have it, Joe's top 11 movies of all time. You guys have a great holiday. I'm feeling good. Actually, I'm feeling great. Working out. I'm working it. I'm working it. Yeah. Joe here, and yes, in 1995 I decided to make a movie. Now up until then, you know, I was a TV guy. I was doing sports, news, educational videos, but I had this urge to just make a movie. So I had a few $1,000s, rented some film equipment. I didn't want to shoot it on video. This is all film here. And I had a friend of mine that had written a play one time about Sigmund Freud, who ended up in purgatory, which was turned out to be a bar. So I had a friend of mine that had a bar, and I rented his bar one day, and I didn't have enough money for actors, so I got all my friends to show up for the day. And since I didn't pay them, I went ahead and just had an open bar. And at the end of the day, it cost me $800. My bar tab was $800. Here we go. This was like the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And here's some of the script. Here we go.
So, how can I help you?
Sir, I seem to be lost. Where am I?
Oh, here. Let me
Okay,
fetch you
guy
up,
on the
first
right.
of all. Here, have a
A friend of mine, he was one of our
Okay, have a
professors.
cigar.
Carl Hacker, he was an environmental scientist. Friend behind the bars, friend of mine, Bruce, he was the one that actually wrote the play. I took his play and adapted it to a screenplay. The whole thing was going to be 20 minutes long. Problem was, all of my friends, they never read the script, even though I'd sent it to them weeks in advance. I did some really big planning here. That's one of our students on the right. She agreed to be in the play. Carl was really about the only one who ever read the script. Two of the guys on the stage up there, one of them used to be in the band I played, Squeaky Rodriguez. This was a clerk or a secretary, I forgot. This was Sigmund Freud's mother, and she worked at our school. The takeaway on this was I was better at making educational videos and sports videos than I was making them. Anyways, I don't know what to tell you. It was that's the worst movie ever made. It turned out to be about 20 minutes long. I remember when I had all the film came back and I had to convert the video so I could edit it. It just sat there for weeks because I knew it was just going to be awful. You guys are the first ones to see it in 25 years almost. That's all I got. No more films from Joe.